and welcome to Out of the Darkroom on Adorama TV. I'm Ruth Medjber, and joining me on the show today we have macro photographer Chris Connolly. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today, and you're going to talk to us all about your macro photography. Maybe if you could give us a little insight into how you got started into it.
When I was young, my father had a camera. He never really used it. I don't know why he bought it, but it was a Minolta X300 film camera, and that's probably about 30 years or 35 years ago. Behind where we lived, we had a wood. So on my days off, I used to walk around the wood, and I'd see mushrooms and fungi and lichens, and I'd start to photograph them, and I'd put them all together. And it's like if you're at an exhibition and one photograph can set the other one off. You know, when you put them all side by side. Likewise, when you put all of these mushrooms and lichens and you see these different shapes and the different colours, you realise then the amount of diversity and life that's, we'll say, on the forest floor.
Wow. So
that's what got me into macro photography. And around the same stage then I got interested in music. So, you know, when you're born with a creative gene, you have this need to create and make magic and all of this. So the music then was a hobby, and that kind of fulfilled my creative need, and that went on for about 40 years, we'll say.
Brilliant.
And back in 2010, I lost my job, with the recession and all that. A lot of people, did. Yeah, and I would have been in my early 50s then, so I kind of realised, it's going to be very hard to get a similar job.
Yeah.
So I decided to use the opportunity to go back to college. So we'll say I was off life's hamster wheel for a while.
Brilliant.
And I looked upon this as an opportunity rather than something to be depressed about. So I went and I went to study photography, and I only intended doing 1 year. But when I was in college, you're in a room full of, we're a group of, say, 30 people.
Yeah.
And they're 30 like-minded people. You have people from Russia, you have people from Poland, you have young people, you have old people. It didn't really matter. To be in a room full of creative people and people who would be thinking would be like-minded, we'll say, was fantastic. So then I decided to go back and do the second year.
But what was it about macro photography in particular that you loved?
Again, in around, I think it was 010, I'd normally take a week's holidays in around springtime to get the garden in order and all of that. And in the garden we have a pond. And in springtime then, there was lots of frogs. During the mating season, when you'd walk up and the frogs would be in the pond, right, they'd generally scatter.
Okay.
So you'd have to literally crawl on your belly and disguise the shape of your head against the sky. Insects, when you're trying to sneak up on an insect or any animal, you have to go in a straight line. They don't really notice that movement, but they do notice this.
Really?
Yeah, so, and this camera that I had at the time, it was a Fuji 9600, and the little screen on the back, you could lift it up and do all this. So I literally had to put my hand into the water and have the screen so that I could see it and stay there for a while until the frogs kind of just didn't notice me. And that's when I started getting into the macro. When you realise that you can get into their world without being intrusive or obstructive.
So it's patience really, and then it's like outsmarting insects and frogs and things like that.
It's kind of, as you know yourself, knowing your subject.
Yeah.
So that got me interested in, and then because we have a pretty extensive garden, I'd start to notice all the other insects, nursery web spiders, stink bugs, shield bugs, ladybirds, all sorts of stuff, and that kind of realised, well, I have all this wildlife here in this small area. So then you think to yourself, right, the woods would probably be like the jungle. You can go out there and God knows what you'll find.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the whole the process of macro photography that appealed to me. It was the subjects themselves are interesting.
So you started then in your garden essentially and in the woods. Is that where you do most of your work these days, or do you have to travel abroad to see different types of insects?
Well, last year I was a national winner with the Sony World Photography Awards, and because of that has kind of opened up communications with people I would not normally have known, like biologists and entomologists, which I think is fantastic. And entomologists and biologists know all of these areas in Ireland, areas of special conservation or preservation, which I wouldn't have known. I'm lucky enough there's one area of special conservation that's only about 2 or 3 miles from where I live.
Oh wow!
And it is just inundated with dragonflies and the green tiger beetle. Like whatever about the dragonflies, most people know about the dragonflies, but most people wouldn't know about the green tiger beetle.
I wouldn't know.
No. And again, only a little small creature about this size is luminous green.
Yeah.
We tend to think of, you know, exotic insects as being from Malaysia or Indonesia or South America or in around the Amazon area.
Yeah.
We have some really exotic insects here. Like this green tiger beetle, it is probably the fastest insect on Earth.
Wow. How do you photograph something so fast? Like okay, I know you sneak up on them and you stay like super straight in their eye.
And that's not always the case. That was just regarding the frog.
This is what amazed me. I'm like, they look like they're just sitting there waiting for you to take their picture, which obviously they're not. They're running around the place. How do you photograph a beetle when it's flying around?
I'd be armed with knowledge from doing the research as to what their habitat would be like and what kind of terrain they live in. And I'd go along and I'd say, yeah, I'm in the right spot here now because I can see their larvae have a little hole in the ground and he comes up and they grab whatever it is. But anyway, I know I'd be in the right spot because I'd see all these little holes and I'd wait and I'd wait and I'd wait and I'd see nothing.
Okay.
Then I'd go back and say, I'm doing something wrong here, and I'll go back and do a bit more research. And you won't see them if the temperature has to be above 20 degrees. Because because they're so fast, they need the heat, they get their energy from the heat. A bit like amphibians, you know, when the lizard comes out in the morning time, he sits up in the rock, he gets
charged up.
And off he goes. So these are similar to that. So I'd go out another day then when the temperature would be right, and I'd be on the ground waiting for them, and not a hole. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to catch one.
Okay.
And bring it home.
Do you? Okay, cool. I wanted to know this. If you did that, that's cool.
Yeah, and you get a sod of turf or something that would be similar to their own natural environment, and you set it up and you set up your flashes and your lights and all of that, and that's how you get the shot. Now, having said that, again, you could put him down there and he'd be gone.
Oh, and he'd be in your house.
He'd be in the house, but I mean, there's only one room, like this room here, so it's not a big job to go and catch him and put him back again.
No, not into it. But that's fascinating that you catch them and you bring them home.
Yeah.
It gives you more time and a little bit more control over things.
Yeah, I mean, good photographs, they're made. They're not, seldom are they taken by accident.
Yeah,
you have to think about it. You know, you have to do your research and think about it and work it that way.
And to you, what makes a good macro photograph?
I suppose different aspects of macro appeal to different people.
Yeah.
Some people, like Levon Biss, gets in really, really, really deep. I like when I'm photographing a macro subject for all the backgrounds to be different and for all the backgrounds to be colourful. Okay. So, you know, if you're having an exhibition, when all of these photographs are up on the wall, straight away you're drawn in by just even the colours without actually delving into the photograph. So that's what I like. I do like plenty of colour, and I also like to photograph insects from their eye level.
Oh, okay.
Because most of the time when we see insects, they're on the ground. Yeah. And we're well up above them. But it's like, you know, when you're doing photographing for, we'll say, a muscle car, you'll always get down low because it gives the car more power and strength. So I like to think that if you get down at the same level as the insect and at eye level, that it kind of earns a bit more respect. Gets a bit more respect from the viewer, we'll say.
Yeah.
You know.
Obviously, you have a love for these insects.
I do, yeah.
Do you find that people are a little bit kind of grossed out by insects? Or the majority of them love it?
Yeah, they are, and especially spiders.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have, you have all your photographs on the wall, and there's dragonflies and beetles, and then there's a section for the spiders. They'll all come along, they'll read all about them, and then they get to the spiders, go on and skip them. But I like to try and photograph them in a friendly way because when you're young and if you have a respect for nature, it stays with you. So at the exhibition last year, there were children there and they were interested and they were in, where did you find this and how did you get that? And they were actually interested in the insects. And I'd like to think that if they get a respect for them, as I said, that'll continue on through their lifetime. Yeah.
So you want to start them at a young age, give them kind of the encouragement to go and respect nature. It's a whole other world. I need to find out more about it. I do. Maybe I need to
But it's educational.
It's very educational, of course. So will you stay with me then? And in part 2, we're going to chat more about the gear that you use.
I will.
Thanks. Well, that's all we have time for this episode, but join me again because I'll be chatting to Chris about his production techniques. If you'd like to brush up on your own photography skills, check out the Adorama Learning Centre. And if you'd like to watch more videos, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.